Beautiful.
Boom.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Man Bunkbed Podcast. It's a fantasy football podcast where three guys who are definitely not experts are just gonna get in here and talk about the probably the only hobby they've still got 12 years later. So before we get into all that, please follow us on Spotify, follow us on YouTube. Man Bunkbed is what it's going to be on all formats. We're working on an Apple Podcast account. It's a little bit more difficult to get that than what we had first planned on. So once that is submitted for approval and approved, we will be on Apple Podcasts. We're working on a Twitter and we're working on a TikTok account. So soon you'll see Man Bunkbed across all social media platforms that are currently relevant today. I am your host, Zach Bradley. I've got Nolan over here. He is against all social media, so he doesn't have a social media handle. But on the Fantasy Football Advice Forum, you will see him as Fat Squirtle, so look for him there. Below me there, I've got Cole Smith, a.k.a. The Coach.
Where I belong.
He is on Twitter as @CoachSmith409. And, of course, you can find me on most social medias as the Zach Bradley. How's it going, guys? How's everybody doing?
Where you belong, buddy. Stay down there.
Yeah, I like the bottom bunk. I don't have to climb. I'm too fat for that.
Bottom bunk. I like that.
I will tell you, you just gave me like a very solid case of depression because I can't think of any other hobbies I have anymore. Like, this is it.
Wow.
Thank you for that. Like, what else do I do for fun?
It's this.
Nope. I got nothing.
I was gonna say coach, but like that's you get paid. So
I like it. I enjoy it, but I get paid for it.
Yep.
Congratulations on thank you for my depression.
Yeah, it's all right.
Middle-aged men.
Well, look, the podcast doesn't make money, so now we have.
There
does
it
it
is.
fall under the same umbrella?
Yay!
It's like a separate. It's like a separate thing.
We start making money off of this, I'm out. Can't.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so look, I did such a terrible job on our intro last week. I didn't tell anybody who you guys were, and so I apologize for that on the front end. So
yeah.
we'll
learn from your mistakes, buddy.
Yeah, we'll do better. So Nolan, I've known Nolan since I was 4. Nolan is the only person on this podcast who has won our redraft league that we've all been in for 10 years. He's in fact a 2-time champion, and so
you're proud of that.
Kudos to Nolan for winning where me and Cole can't. Nolan, tell everybody what's your favorite format of fantasy football? Tell somebody.
Oh, I'm definitely a PPR guy. My favorite hot take is the put a tight end in your flex spot every time.
Nolan did win his most recent championship as a multiple tight end user in the flex, which is pretty rare.
Love it. There was one league I ran 3 tight ends every week in both flex spots.
That's brutal. I'm not sure I agree, but if it gets you a win.
Hey man, it works. Won a championship in that league too.
Yeah. All right, Cole, same thing for you. Cole hasn't won any championships, just like me.
That's not in this league. I've won other ones before. The Matt Stafford, Calvin Johnson stack was very good.
Back, baby. How many years ago was that at this point?
I know, so many years ago.
I don't know if we've been doing this 10.
I wasn't old enough to drink.
Oh, my God. That's like me claiming my Nick Foles championship.
Hey, if that gets it done, that gets it done.
Did I answer the question? What was the question?
What's your favorite fantasy football format?
Dynasty.
Dynasty? Okay. Yikes. You didn't sound convinced. I feel like, for those of you out there, I think Cole just threw a dart.
That was a hostage pick is what that was. He felt compelled.
Well, here we go.
I don't like Superflex. I like Dynasty, 1 QB, PPR. Superflex drives me nuts just because of like the run on quarterbacks and how important that is and it changes everything. I just don't like it as much as actually like having to do your work and find, these late round guys that are going to be great for your team. And especially in Dynasty, when you're looking at late round guys that are going to be great for your team 5 years from now. So I feel like there's a lot more research, a lot more knowledge that comes with playing, Dynasty single quarterback.
Gotcha. As far as me, my favorite format is probably still redraft, just because I love the draft. Like the fantasy football stuff's awesome, and I like being able to pick your lineups and do all that kind of thing. I love the draft part of it. So redraft for me, and that's what we do in our personal league, our league that we're on year 10 in, and so that's probably my favorite. And of course, you got to be PPR. For you crazy people that are doing like those.
If you play standard, I don't trust you as a human.
Yeah. Out there in like an 8-man standard league.
Oh,
I don't want to tell you to tune off, but think about it. Yeah, our advice probably isn't for you. All right, so before we move any farther on that, I would be remiss if I did not shout out the Fantasy Football Advice Forum. So we are at the 3-Man Bunkbed, sponsored by Fantasy Football Advice Forum. We're one of the content creators on that platform. We're building a community on this website, y'all, that's just for fantasy football people. So wherever you're getting your content now, if you're on Facebook or if you're on Twitter, where you have to go and find that stuff, you have to weed through all the politics and all the trolls and the stuff like that just to get to your fantasy football content. That's not what you find at the Fantasy Football Advice Forum. It's a fantasy football purist kind of thing. You can go there, and that's all anybody is talking about is fantasy football. You've got content creators that are experts and pros at this. You got content creators like us who are doing it just for fun, hoping people find some value in what we put out. And then for those of you who want to become a content creator, this is a platform that will allow you to do that. We'll give you a voice. We'll give you an audience that will be seeking your content and looking for that. So please go to Fantasy Football Advice Forum. Subscribe. They're on YouTube. They're on Twitter. They're on all that. So please go check that out. All right. So do we feel introduced this time? Do we feel like they?
Thank you. I feel validated.
I feel like we should focus more on me going forward. That would just make it so much better.
Well, first non-football question here, guys. What's everybody drinking tonight?
The same as always.
It is and forever will always be Modelo time.
All right, so we got Nolan, a.k.a. Fat Squirtle, drinking his first Modelo. Don't worry. He's got a second one.
Definitely not the first.
Oh, no, it's his first podcast one. We've got Coach Smith 409 there with what I'm assuming is a hydro flask full of Milo sweet tea.
It is Milo 0-calorie sweet tea. So got that good old stevia in here. It's not even sugar.
Love the concentrations.
Have I been disowned by the South for drinking stevia tea?
Well, when you swap from Tennessee to Oklahoma and then you swap from regular tea to zero sugar tea, it's been a rough couple of years, pal.
I can't go back though. If I go back to being a Tennessee fan, you know what's going to happen.
They're going to suck.
Your eyes twitched being an Oklahoma fan. What happened?
I don't know, man. This is the year.
Oklahoma fell off the face of the earth.
Joe Milton, baby.
I can't switch back. I can't. So I'll just sit over here and go, good job, Tennessee.
It's Joe Milton's year.
Yep. All right, let's get into some NFL news, okay? What do y'all think about D-Hop? D-Hop signing with the Titans. How do we feel about that?
I think they like to take on old-ass receivers and then do nothing with them. You got Robert Woods. You got Julio. It's going to be another failed experiment.
He's not an old receiver, but Adrian Peterson.
They love to take on old dudes for 1 or 2 years and just...
This is okay. It's not as bad as the Julio signing.
How old is D-Hop? Is he 30 yet?
Because when D-Hop came in last year, he was solid. And that's playing with quarterbacks. Kyler was hurt. He didn't play till week 10.
Look, the experts over at Madden love him. He's in the top 10 wide receivers still.
He's 31. Yeah.
Which is
I can tell you this right now. He will not finish top 10 in fantasy.
He won't finish top 20 in fantasy.
The number one right now that everybody's saying about, I think I heard today that Burks is still number one and he's predicted to be tight end 27.
Mr. Asthma Boy? Yeah, sure, totally.
Hey, watch it.
But we love Ryan Tannehill. Woo!
Yeah, well, All right, so how does D-Hop signing affect fantasy on that team?
It doesn't. I still don't want him.
It's like a net neutral, no change at all.
It changes nothing.
Burks, I still think he's in the middle of the road. He's not as great as everybody wants him to be. I think it helps Chig Conquest a little bit because that's going to get your safeties can't just sit on one side of the field here, kind of watching tight end and Burks. They're going to spread things out and open up the middle of the field. So I think it'll get him a couple more catches, but it's not a massive.
Did Chig really catch passes over the middle, though? I feel like he was a swing or outside kind of guy.
The Chiefs?
Oh.
No.
It's against the Chiefs. His big one was right down the middle. Tannehill doesn't tend to, look in the middle of the field most of the time.
That's the scary part of the field.
I
too many defenders.
The few times Tannehill has had good games or good passes, they've been play action passes. And look, if Derrick Henry's running it, and enabling the play action, like DeAndre Hopkins does make a great play action threat. I actually think him and Treylon Burks kind of profile as a similar player. The guys, they love to run down the field and catch those deep passes. So if they've got two of those guys, like that's great.
The issue is you don't have somebody that can throw that pass.
Yeah,
I think my favorite stat of the week came from this D-Hop signing. When you look now at the Titans' entire staff, faculty, all of it, the top career receiving touchdown leaders. D-Hop's number one. Any guesses number two?
Randy Moss.
On the team right now. Or part of the team right now.
Kyle Phillips.
Nope.
Oh.
Not top five.
Oh, who's the wide receivers coach?
You're in the right direction.
Oh, it's one of the position coaches. Who
is it? Vrabel?
It's Vrabel with 12.
Is it really? Oh my God.
Vrabel with 12. Chris Moore with 8.
Sure.
Westbrook-Akina with 7, and Treylon Burks.
Oh, but his touchdown catch last year was
amazing. That catch he made was amazing.
That one catch.
And he immediately was concussed and left.
Was that the one he died on?
Yes, it was.
He got blasted, yes. All right, so
you didn't have asthma before. You do now.
Oh my God, he got hit so hard he got asthma.
All right. So we're excited that the D-Hop drama is over and that ultimately he didn't sign with the Patriots, but we don't think it affects the
I think it would have affected more if he would have went to the Patriots.
Yeah,
I think it would have affected more if he went to the Chiefs.
Wow. Yeah.
I love how he's like, I want to go to a Super Bowl contending team.
The Titans.
And he did not go to a Super Bowl contending team at all. Chiefs.
I don't know. In that division, they can wild card in on that division.
Wow.
Yay.
All right. Next thing, NFL teams reporting to, and Nolan educated me on this. They're reporting to team camp this week, not training camp necessarily. Training camp's kind of like really in the preseason where they're going to be playing games. It's July. So this is really team camp. So we have rookies that are reporting like yesterday and today, and then vets reporting for the teams the rest of the week. How do we feel about that?
I still don't get why it's staggered, honestly.
I don't like, and each team has a different veteran reporting day, and I don't know. Is that a big deal or is that not a big deal?
It's not a big deal. It's just more hype for young dudes. It's gonna happen.
So everything we're hearing this week and the rest of this month is probably still just
all grains of salt. Grains of salt.
Was this the week last year when we found out that Burks had asthma? And
yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yep. You're right. So it's just
make it through 4 years at Arkansas without it being a problem, but one summer in Nashville, and he's like, I'm dying.
It's hot. It's muggy. You're there. It's more. They're on like a mountain. Whatever.
It's the humidity.
Ugh. It's got to be humid in Fayetteville. It has to be.
I know.
Are we just calling Arkansas not the South right now? Is this where this conversation's heading?
No, we're good.
It's a Midwest state.
Midwest.
All right. So for you NFL calendar people, team camps are starting. So that's just like the next step before we get on the preseason, before we get on to draft season, really, and then before we get to the NFL season. So team camp. All right. Last bit of news before we jump into the big topic.
The big news.
The Jets.
You froze. It's nice knowing you.
Gross.
We lost.
That's a fantastic three.
Fantastic thing to be stuck on. Oh, are you back?
Hey, buddy. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Am I stuck?
Yes to you. You're
What
going to
happened?
enjoy the face you got stuck on.
We lost you. You froze.
That's good. So
You froze approximately at the Jet.
The Jets.
Oh, that's good. No, so the Jets were named this year's Hard Knocks team. How do we feel about that?
They just want to see what's going on with Aaron Rodgers.
About the
Did
same
you
way
s-
Rodgers feels.
Yeah,
about it.
right. Did you
We're
see
not
for the
excited.
first time that Robert Saleh said they're not going to be in the room when they're cutting players, though?
Is that they're not going to be in the room?
Nope, he's not letting them.
God, that's like what I want to see. That's like
Yeah.
I want to see like the sadness.
It's the big calling card, but he's announced, yesterday, day before, that he's not allowing them in the room. Whether the NFL says he has to or not, he says he's not doing it.
He just wants to say that he is a team guy.
Yeah.
Like
He said
Robert Saleh is he's a player guy. You know,
The word he used was inhumane, which honestly I kind of agree with. I'm here for it.
Yes, sit down and let's record the worst moment of your football
Yeah.
life.
Your dream is falling at the wayside. Hey, let's
How
put
that
it on
thing
TV.
you've worked for since you were 12.
Yep. Now
Okay.
you're done.
Everybody's
Done.
watched me crush this guy's dreams.
so we can
Yeah, you
knife
can do
that
that.
out. But I want a caveat to it. If their net worth or career gainings are over a certain 7-figure or 8-figure number, I want to see them get that.
Oh,
They've earned it, right? Like they've earned enough. I want to see it.
if you
We're
made
gonna
more than a
cut
minimum,
Julio Jones, yes.
yeah.
All right. So that's the NFL news. Not. I mean, some significant stuff, but nothing like nothing burning the world down. So let's get to the big issue today. So, yesterday at 4 Eastern, 3 Central, the deadline for several very big name running backs to sign their franchise tags and get deals done passed, and none of the 3 running backs signed deals.
One of them did.
Did they sign deals? Who signed deals?
Pollard signed his franchise tag.
Okay, he signed his tag, but nobody signed extensions.
Right.
And so, that's kind of a big deal, right? Tony Pollard, Saquon Barkley, and Josh Jacobs did not sign extensions with their teams, and therefore can't negotiate or sign deals until the offseason after this year. With that, we had a couple of really big name running backs either come off of contracts and are still not signed or were cut. You've got Zeke, you've got Leonard Fournette, you got Kareem Hunt. Like these are like Pro Bowl running backs that have, in some cases like won, Super Bowls that are not on rosters. Guys that are, a couple of them are older, but nobody's like ancient in NFL terms. And then, you've got like Austin Eckler who wanted a trade, and instead of a trade, they granted him a contract decrease, right, and didn't trade him. So, like the biggest thing I want to talk to you guys about today is like, our running backs becoming a thing of the past in the NFL.
I wouldn't call him thing of the past. I think the blockbuster signing $10 million running back is a thing of the past. So I saw a fun stat. There has been, since 2009, in the Super Bowl, one leading rusher has made over $2 million a year.
Yeesh.
Can you guess who it was?
Can we have a year?
14.
No.
It was Percy Harvin. Not even a running back. Not even a running back. Led them in yardage.
Running back. Like,
Yep.
Percy.
So like the teams that are getting to the Super Bowl and winning it, they're not paying running backs. You're getting them on their rookie contracts. So like you have the teams that have paid big running backs, like Derrick Henry. Titans got to the conference championship, not past it. You have Zeke. Cowboys have done nothing for 2 decades at this point. You've got, who is the other one? Joe Mixon. Since he got to the Super Bowl, still lost it.
Oof.
So the teams that are actually winning the Super Bowl since 2009, none of them have made over $2 million a year.
ouch.
Yep.
It's a hurtful stat. So do we agree? Do we disagree? I mean, how do you feel? Do running backs get paid, or are we on championship row here?
I feel like you can draft a running back every 4 years to be good enough,
Yeah, Matt Miller, huge Bleacher Report analyst on like the NFL draft and college prospects. He tweeted about it. He said he's been saying it for years. Like, draft a running back. If he's good, play him. Put him on the franchise tag once, and then draft another running back.
Yep. And if not, you can get a solid running back in the 4th round. I mean, shit, look at Tony Pollard. He's what? A lot of people are saying he could be consensus top 3 running back this year. He was drafted in, the 6th round? 5th round?
I do find it a little crazy. I don't know if I'm ready to say I agree or disagree yet, but, like, running back is one of, like, the premier exciting positions on a football team. Like, when you talk about money makers for product for the NFL, like, good running backs drive viewership. And then you've got, like, people who maybe affect the outcome of the game in a more positive way, like offensive and defensive linemen that are making like 10 times the money than these guys. I mean, there are kickers who are on better salaries than like good Pro Bowl running backs right now. And so, like, I do kind of go, like, if we looked at like the NBA, who in a lot of ways they do like market share revenue where players get pieces of that, like it's clear in the NFL they don't care that the running backs are an important TV product, because the teams are acting like they are not an important like result product, if that makes sense.
When we're sitting here in a time period of the NFL where stats mean so much, everything is by the data, by the numbers. You don't have to dig very deep to see that the teams that are successful are doing it because they're not paying running backs very much. And the teams that are struggling are paying their running backs a ton of money. So if you've given a 26, 25-year-old running back an extension, it's a trend. It's a very clear trend to see that the rest of your team suffers from that. You can't pay receivers. You can't pay defensive linemen. You can't pay to have a strong offensive line when you're paying $10+ million a year. Even when you drafted him, I mean, look at Kamara. Was drafted in the 3rd, gets a solid contract extension. He's doing great. Guess who's not doing great? The Saints. So any of these teams that are paying these running backs a contract extension, it's a trend. And the NFL is such a trendy business where they're going to do whatever's winning. Teams that are in the Super Bowl, they're not paying their running backs very much, and other teams are going to follow that same business model.
Yep.
It's just interesting because you see like the salary cap trending up, quarterback salaries like trending way up, and running back salaries are like trending down. Like, what other positions are trending down? Nobody like the running back.
The franchise tag for running back hasn't increased in 4 years, and it's the only position that hasn't increased in that time.
Wow.
Yep.
I just feel like that's a tough spot, right? Like, I know you could find running backs like in the NFL draft later, and in a lot of ways in fantasy in later rounds, but like for the good ones, the ones we're talking about who aren't getting signed to these like extensions, like you're not, those guys, that's hard to do what they do.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at free agency the last couple of years too, though. Like, everybody but Montgomery got 1-year contracts and free agency as running backs. You look at the list for next year too. So you've got the 3 guys. You've got Jacobs, Pollard, and Barkley. Free agents next year, you've also got Derrick Henry. You've got Austin Eckler. You've got J.K. Dobbins. You've got Gus Edwards. Joe Mixon's on a team option, so he may or may not be. Yeah. But, like, with the guys you've seen, like, there's too many options at this point at the position where it's not like wide receiver where you need 6 of them on every team. Running back, you need, like, unless you're Miami and you need 6 of them. Like, you can have 2 or 3. Like, so there's more people trying to do, like, fill less roles,
Yeah, we haven't even mentioned Dalvin Cook, right? Like an all-world running back, like when he's healthy. If he's healthy, I know, but when he's healthy.
The 3 big names right now. So we're looking at Saquon, Josh Jacobs, and Tony Pollard. I put Pollard in a case of his, like a spot of his own. He's had 1 good season,
sure.
And he's been a backup. Like, it's not a knock on him. He's very talented, and I think the man should get paid.
I think he's more of like a 1B.
Yeah, but I don't put him in the same category as these other 2. All right, Jacobs and Saquon have been good for a long time. Jacobs, as long as he's healthy, he's been great. So you've got 3
Saquon.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can't pay them
because they're just going to get hurt.
You cannot pay Saquon, and you cannot pay Josh Jacobs coming off the one time they were healthy. Like, I want the position to keep being amazing. I want to see these guys win and get a contract where they're happy. But if I'm in control of that team, can you trust either one of them to be healthy for a full season?
No, definitely not.
Again.
No, probably not.
That's why they're not getting paid.
All right, so look, that's how, that's real world stuff. How does this affect fantasy football? All these running backs on 1-year deals and getting devalued by the NFL. We're seeing committees. How does this affect fantasy?
I don't think redraft. I don't think it impacts it at all. Honestly,
No,
you're still going to draft. If you didn't have these absolute studs at receiver right now, I mean, this is the 1 year, I think. I mean, I would say consensus, you're looking at Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase kind of guys going very early top 3 picks. Justin Jefferson's probably the consensus 101 this year. So redraft, I don't think it does at all. Dynasty, I think there's a huge impact that we're not really looking into of, does this change the way you draft in dynasty leagues? If you have the option, because let's say we've got 5 years of a running back who's coming out of college, 21. We get 5 good years out of a top 10 level running back, and then we're done. We might get a second contract where you get to 26, 27, but at 28 years old, they're out. You mentioned Leonard Fournette earlier. You know Leonard Fournette's dynasty ADP in 2017? 102.
Ooh.
Him and Christian McCaffrey.
Wow.
Those were going 1 and 2. Leonard, and we're like, are we out on Leonard Fournette? Are you drafting Leonard Fournette?
No.
Not touching him anywhere.
Exactly. So here's the issue that I have with the running back position when it comes to dynasty. Yeah, they're becoming a thing of the past. So if you're sitting at the 101 and you've got a shot at a running back, Bijan, we're coming right off of that draft, who looks to be a consensus top 5 running back for the next 5 years. Is it worth the 101 versus the opportunity to have a receiver who might be as talented as Justin Jefferson for the next 10 years?
So I feel like this is going to come down to, because we're talking dynasty, where your team is at that point. If I'm a solid, make it first into the playoffs, second round, I still take him all day. So that gives you 5 years consensus. You're already like in the playoff contending. I would take him all day. If you're bottom dwelling forever 12th, I wouldn't touch it. I would trade that pick. I would.
If you're getting Bijan, you're drafting 101. You probably took over an orphan team, or your team was horrible last year. You tanked for Bijan. Either way, you're looking at the 101.
Right.
Do you hold on to that and take this guy who's going to be good for the next 5 years?
I wouldn't hold on to that, no.
You move out. Okay, let me ask this. You have the 101. This is where it's going to get gold.
This is what you were waiting for?
Yep, this is what I was waiting for.
All right.
What if Marvin Harrison came out this year? If Marvin Harrison Jr. was in the draft this year and you have the 101, do you take Bijan? Do you take Marvin Harrison Jr.? Because that answer tells you where the running back position is at in Dynasty.
I think I'll take Marvin Harrison.
3 years ago, I think you still just run to the podium with Bijan.
Yeah.
I think this year, and there were receivers this year, if they would have went to different situations, that might have come in that conversation. I think this year the draft just didn't go the receiver's way.
I don't know, man. The receivers, even not taking position into place, like.
All right, let me throw this out there. The difference in the number 1 running back this year and the number 10 running back this year, 79 fantasy points. The difference in the number 1 wide receiver this year and the number 10 wide receiver this year, 81 fantasy points. There's no difference, except you're going to get 5 more years out of the life of that receiver. You've got DeAndre Hopkins still playing, 30+. Cooper Kupp still playing, 30+. You've got these guys who have been good and been good in fantasy for a long time, that are 30+ and still rolling. Where are you drafting Cooper Kupp in redraft this year? Top 5?
Yeah, but in Dynasty, he's still going. Obviously, he gets pushed farther back because he's older, but he's still going really, really high for receivers. Yeah.
So I think the answer to that question, whichever one you choose. So Zach, did you say Bijan or Marvin Harrison?
I think this year it's probably those two, I'd go Marvin Harrison. Yeah.
Nolan?
Yeah, I'd probably go Marvin Harrison.
So with those two answers, if that's what we're going off of, yeah, the running back position is on the decline in fantasy. If you've got a bottom-dwelling team and you're looking at a generational talent at running back, you trade back, you trade out, you go get your wide receivers, and you find some running backs who are 24, 25, looking to be extended soon, and you pay as little as possible for them because with the way the business runs these days, you're getting maybe 6 years out of a running back. McCaffrey is the outlier here.
He's also had injury issues, though.
Yeah.
So it's still a gamble.
And he was traded on that contract.
Yeah.
Right? They didn't sign him to that. They traded for him on that. I do think in redraft, going back to redraft on, you do have to be careful. You have to start fading some of these guys, like Saquon and Josh Jacobs, and even Tony Pollard, depending on the draft. People are getting those in the late first, early second round, and I think knowing that Pollard will probably play, but is coming off an injury and he's on a 1-year deal. But Saquon and Josh Jacobs, all you hear is holding out. And then all the other running backs that aren't on rosters, I don't know how you can invest a significant enough pick in a Leonard Fournette or a Dalvin Cook or a Zeke when they're not on a roster. If they do get signed on a roster, it feels like it's going to be more of a committee situation rather than they're going to be the featured back. And you can use that pick on somebody else who might start for your team. Get your stud running backs if you have a shot at it. If you're in a position to take McCaffrey or Nick Chubb or even Derrick Henry until he proves us wrong, take your shot to get those guys, because the middle running back tier is littered with guys who I think are just big suspects this year. Big suspects.
Who are you? So we've got that list of 26, 27, 28-year-old running backs. Fournette. It's a cliff they're falling off of. We're 3 years from Fournette being a solid fantasy value player. He's getting a lot. He's doing Mixon, Dalvin Cook 3 years ago. How much would you have to trade to get Dalvin Cook 3 years ago? But that's the thing about the running back position. With all of this happening with the contracts, that position is collapsing.
Yeah.
If you're trading for Austin Eckler in Dynasty right now, how much are you giving? How much are you willing to pay for these 28-year-old running backs?
Well, and running backs feel now, the clear difference between how I would classify trading for a running back or a wide receiver is you can trade for a wide receiver across a wide range of ages and it be a good dynasty move. But if you trade for a running back, it feels like a win now kind of move rather than a dynasty, right? And so I think that is a big devalue. They feel like rentals, like a 1-year rental or a 2-year rental. This person might not be relevant on your roster long, or you're going to have them long enough to use them and trade them. But the receivers, you're I want a guy that I can just I want Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave, where I can just plug them in on my lineup and leave them alone for the next 6 years in a dynasty format.
Yeah. And I think that you're going to start to see that shift going forward. I think everybody has Marvin Harrison as their consensus number 1 next year. At this point, being the first dynasty pick, I think you're going to start to see that a lot more. With everybody seeing that running backs aren't getting a second contract, the thing that you're only getting a handful of years, those players that are drafting at first overall, they're not going to be taking running backs. I think Bijan is a generational talent. You can't overlook how talented he was. He's already projected to be a top 5 running back this year. Just where he fell in the draft, everything, the skill level he has. But I think you're going to start to see over the course of the next few years, it's going to be wide receivers going first overall, because you've got bottom-dwelling teams who need help for a long time. And running backs don't do that.
Look, and for those of you who weren't, Cole can speak to a deep degree what bottom-dwelling teams do. From last year, okay? He
had the 101 in 2 dynasty leagues this year.
Don't worry. For next week's podcast, I'll make sure and share the photo of Nolan presenting the last place trophy to Cole. So
that's actually
okay.
No, I gave him the last place trophy.
Look,
Nolan,
man,
I tried to help. I tried to give you like a.
I had a little too many Modelos before that draft. It wasn't my fault.
Right. Yeah, there were some other things in there.
So all right. So
for the real quick, for the record, we were talking about Marvin Harrison being the consensus number 1. If you look at Fantasy Pros, Caleb Williams is actually ranked higher.
That's going to be super
winning
play.
quarterbacks.
I'm just saying.
I don't know.
Here's this argument. Marvin Harrison's only projected number 2.
Hold on. Are you talking like dynasty draft or NFL draft? What draft?
I am looking at early 2024 dynasty rookie mock draft.
That's got to be Superflex.
From Fantasy Pros.
Like Superflex, sure. Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison.
It doesn't specify.
But get outside of your Superflex world where
I'm just saying. It doesn't specify.
That's Superflex. Know it.
No, I don't know if I could draft a Heisman winning quarterback. There's just a massive track record of those dudes sucking.
You could be who? The year before, was it T-Law was drafted first overall in our league? Yeah.
Second, Najee was first.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
speaking of another
Najee this year. That's right. All right. So last question on that. So I think we can unanimously say on the 3-Man Bunkbed podcast we are worried about running back fantasy value.
Yeah.
Do you think they should be paid? Do you think they should be paid in real life?
I think everybody should be paid, but if I was a GM, I would not pay them.
Okay. Like he's like a communist, but officially he's responsible. I got it.
Yeah, I'm going to echo exactly.
I mean, like sharing the wealth, right? Like it's fine.
I echo that 100%. Yeah, if I think the position is devalued, I think they should get paid. If I'm a GM, there's no way in this world I'm paying them, though.
I would never. If I was a GM, I wouldn't pay a running back over.
I can promise you, Eckler's not getting a contract.
No, definitely, because he's been trying to be traded, and they couldn't trade him.
Yeah.
And then he's a free agent next year too. So who knows what's going to happen with that?
He's going to be just like Fournette and Cook this year.
Yeah.
God, go trade Austin Eckler right now if you are in Dynasty.
If you're not winning this year,
get a first and a second.
Yep.
Because next year he will be sitting in the same position where he's not on a team at this point because he wants to get paid and he's not getting it.
Yep. He'll be 29 next year.
If you get to that point in your fantasy season where you're struggling and your outlook starts to look bleak, get rid of those running backs.
Yep. Yeah, trade running backs first.
If you are a team who, you want to win now, you are looking very close. Like you've got a solid team that could win the championship. You're looking at your draft pick is bottom 4. Would you trade a first and a second for Eckler to go get that championship?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm trying to win this year, yes, I would make that trade.
Look, y'all, I'm a trophy chase like NBA players. Yep. Like I'm here for championships. Okay.
I will trade my draft picks next year if I win that chip this year. Any day.
Yeah, dude. I want the trophy.
I'll suck a year to get that trophy this year.
And if you're holding on to a player like Eckler, are you not willing? Would you take a first and a second for him? I would.
Yeah, if I not winning, yes, I would.
If I thought I could spare him for the run, or I'm not going to make a run, I'm gonna ship him because his value feels brief. It feels really valuable, September 6th or 7th, whatever that first game is. But after that, from that moment, it starts to wane because he might get injured, and you don't know what the other running backs on the roster are going to do or what they try. I mean, it's bleak. All right, and look, we got to listen to Nolan. He's the only winner, only 2-time winner for sure, but the only winner of our redraft league. So, all right, so let's. Y'all got anything else before we wrap this thing up?
Yeah, who's the Chargers' backup running back?
I don't know.
They just drafted.
So here's the thing. Here it is. Here's the hot take for the night. It's Isaiah Spiller because
Oh.
Look what Kellen Moore did with Tony Pollard.
Love Kellen Moore in that offense.
Isaiah Spiller, smaller version, but super speedy receiving back, could be very similar to Pollard. I think Isaiah Spiller gets some action this year.
That's kind of scary. He's smaller than Pollard, who's not like a
not
a big running back in his own right. So,
Hold
all
on,
right,
make sure I'm not fucking lying real quick.
Yeah. we fact check here on the 3 Man Bunk Bed podcast.
Yeah,
sometimes.
I've got too much stuff running. My computer's running slow.
At least you're not frozen with your mouth open.
That's a good point. Why is it in meters?
Oh no!
What is that?
What?
Someone said communism, and now we're going to start looking at meters.
I googled it, and it gave me it in meters.
We're on the metric system. It's fine.
All right, Isaiah Spiller. What are you? 6'1", 215. He's not even small.
Is his contract in euros or like American?
Oh my god! How did that happen?
Right,
Yo, he's actually bigger than Tony Pollard.
Okay, well thank God.
He's an inch taller and 6 pounds heavier.
So look out for Isaiah Spiller. No, that might be.
You heard it here. Hot take. Put it on the board.
Yeah, Isaiah Spiller. All right, let's wrap it up. Don't forget to go to Fantasy Football Advice Forum. Become a part of our community. Become a content creator and be the part of the engine for that community. FantasyFootballAdviceForum.com. They're FFAF on Twitter. They're on YouTube. Go check them out. Come check us out, 3 Man Bunkbed Podcast. We're going to be posting these every Thursday. We're going to be, like I said, on YouTube, on Spotify. We're working on Apple Podcasts. We're working on Twitter. We're working on TikTok. Please come out and see us. We're going to keep doing this. Things are going to get ramped up as we move into actual training camp, not team camp. And then when we move into like preseason and then get this thing rolling. So we appreciate you for listening, and we will we'll see y'all next week. Thanks, everybody.